Lula Manare, Commission of Gender Equality, Lindy Wilson, DA Shadow, Deputy Minister of Social Development, will be joining us. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am, and thank you so much for your time. Now, can we at this point be blaming the teachers about not teaching or educating learners when it comes to sexual activity?
It's a short response. You can't. Children are with teachers for 8 hours. The rest of the times, the children grow from. They have parents. They have their homes, and they have the community and the society that they live in, and therefore it's not only teachers' responsibilities or that teachers are not doing their responsibilities.
Let's talk about some of the solutions that we have come up with as the country as well as government, looking at the situation that we have at hand. What are some of the solutions that we have put in place?
In fact, the Department of Education, I think the minister in 2012 tried to have some policy measure to make sure that even our pregnant girls can still remain in schools so that they are not discriminated against. But more and above that, we need to do more in terms of our boy children, because half of the crisis is caused by the male species, and we have to address the issues of young boys, young males, and young teachers who continue to abuse young girls at schools, because pregnancy is not only done by women and young girls alone. There is another 50% that we are not addressing, and that is boys have to be in control of their own reproduction, sexual reproduction, and they have to be on their own, be able to protect themselves from being young fathers, because we can only see women because we see their stomach growing, but we don't see the blind side of it, which is causing the pregnancy itself.
And now you're talking about we're not addressing the boys and the males section. What measurements should be put in place? Because we know when it comes to girls, there are contraceptives that we can look at. But now when it comes to boys, just addressing it, telling a boy that, listen, you shouldn't be doing this, we know they will still do it. But then what else have we been trying to look at?
I think as a Gender Commission, we also try to have more discussions with young men and young boys, even at schools. We need to reach out to young boys, because I always think that people think that boys, they can grow on their own, they know what to do, and they don't need to be guided. I think we still need to, as much as we guide our girls and give them the B's of everything, how does it happen, when will it happen, we need to do it with our young boys as well. We still need to give that guidance to our young boys. Secondly, I would be interested to find out if, even scientifically, do we have any measures that can help young boys, besides the use of condoms, for them to still prevent themselves from becoming fathers.
And now, how often do you give guidance to the boys? As you did mention that discussions take place. How often does this happen at schools?
It must be happening with the schools. You do have a life skills class at schools. I know that the Department of Education is having camps, youth camps. It has peer education, because we have seen that our young people respond more to other young people who speak about these issues. And I think those interventions, together with a strong parental support, it will be able to help. But we also know that our parents, mostly in poor and vulnerable areas in our communities, in our rural areas, in our townships, in our shanty towns, where we have a dense population, this is very rife in our schools. And I think for me, it's more about how does the community respond to it, and also how do we make sure that as a community we start to support each other's families, because not all the time parents are going to be at home, because some of the parents, they leave home as early as 6 a.m. and come back as late as 8 p.m. into their households, and that makes their children vulnerable to the socio-economic conditions. But another issue that is serious is that we should encourage girls to stay at school, because one of the areas that makes them more vulnerable is when they drop out from school. And when they drop out from school, every other thing starts to get risky for our girls.
And now in studio we are joined by Lula Manare, Commissioner of Gender Equality. Now on the phone line we're joined by Lindy Wilson, DA Shadow Deputy Minister of Social Development. Thank you so much for joining us. Now you have said that as the DA the conditions of pregnancies are worrisome, yet the numbers have come down from 18,357 since 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Why is this not good enough at this point? Isn't there some kind of impact that is being made by the government?
First of all, I salute Sonia Boshoff for highlighting the figures that she has. However, we do believe that those figures could in actual fact be higher, because two of the provinces we don't have figures for. But having said that, it's it's concerning. We are correct in saying that keeping children in school should be our major priority. And we must ensure that every South African is able to have a life that they truly value. But apart from the educational concerns, there are other concerns, and those are the social implications. We are now dealing with babies who are being born, who need nurturing, who need appropriate care. They are naturally entitled to grants. But the numbers of these grants are escalating, and we have to continually adjust budgets to accommodate them. And apart from that, we know that a grant of 350 Rand per month can in no way sufficiently support a baby or a child. And what is appropriate care for these babies? A 10-year-old is not equipped to raise a child or a baby. These babies are often ending up in the hands of a gogo or abandoned in fields. And as we know, we've read many stories about babies who've been dropped in pit latrines. There are health implications here that are serious. Young girls' bodies are not sufficiently developed to cope with a pregnancy, let alone multiple pregnancies. And of course, there is the criminal aspect. Sex with children or girls under the age of 16 is classified as statutory rape. And what is being done in this regard, we feel is very, very insufficient. Why are these things not reported? And many of these are rape in the true sense of the word. So we sit here with a myriad of problems that need to be addressed, that require attention from a combination of departments. And I do not believe that the government is doing enough to bring these units and these entities together to address not just the education problem, the counseling, the babies, the NGOs that have to handle this, the health implications, the legal implications.
What more do you think the government should be doing? Because you have just mentioned that it seems as if they're not doing enough at all at this point.
I don't think they're doing enough. I think everybody is aware of the situation and not sure how to handle it. We need to bring the various departments together. That's the police, health, social development, education. We need to have a joint sitting and inquiry into these horrific statistics and put together between the myriad of departments that are involved a proper strategy to deal with this. I do not believe that there is a strategy in place to handle the situation at present.
All right, I'm going to just bring the conversation back into a studio with Ms. Nare. Now, we know that condoms are also being distributed, especially in the life orientation classes. But when it comes to contraceptives, can we not put all girl childs from grades 3 to 7 in primary schools already on contraceptions?
I think there's also the whole issue of the decision, self-determination, the privacy and the dignity of young girls, and for them to decide whether they want to use contraceptives or not. And I think we have horror stories of parents who started and used contraceptives to unknowing girls, unaware that they were using contraceptives, the difficulties that they would have when they are actually in that age when they are ready to have babies. And I think for us, it still remains a community issue. And I think part of what is being said by DA is that also the political organizations have to be, because they are amongst the people, they should be able to have the same campaigns to support communities and families. Because if a family is having one parent, a single parent, or a child-headed household, that family is a responsibility of the community. The first person who sees that is the community. And I think the political parties as well, they are having wards, they are having branches within the people. They should be able to be able to assist, to identify, and to contribute to what the state can do or is doing.
And now I've heard from the DA saying that the health department as well as these the police departments coming into this. Looking at those departments coming together, what solutions do you think they can come up with, since we have seen from the education side that they have been coming up with distributions of condoms, as well as trying to teach in these allo classes about these teenage pregnancies that have been taking place?
I think the school should be an environment where there's protection. I agree that we should be having partnerships. I know when I was a teacher at some point, you will have a partnership with a local clinic that will bring mobile services to the school. You will also have a partnership with police that are in that vicinity. The CPF will be part of the school community. And I think that should be something that we are working at or try and resuscitate in our schools, school health committees that will help. And I think that the clinics that are closer to our schools should be of service to our young boys and young girls in terms of sexual and reproductive health.
And now looking at the community as well, that it needs to play a role in handling the escalating statistics of teenage pregnancies. But now looking at some of the ideas and solutions like contraceptives at school, that everyone should be on a contraceptive, it could actually help bring down the numbers down. But now looking at what you've said, that some parents are not comfortable with that. How can we get parents to be comfortable with bringing this solution into place, that from now onwards it should be at all schools that contraceptives are actually one of the solutions that are used?
Children come from families, and I think the school itself should be a center for families to come in and out. We should be having interaction at schools with the teachers, for teachers to always talk about the difficulties that they are having. And when they can't be assisted, I think that you can't, even the condom discussion, it needed parents to agree to condoms being distributed at schools. And therefore, it's the same way with pills, contraceptive pills, to be distributed at schools. It still needs the parents, the teachers, community to agree on a way forward as they see that their school is under a certain degree of a crisis in terms of learner pregnancies. Because schools are not the same. There are schools that are hard hit, and there are schools that are not hard hit. And I want to hasten to add that it's not only African children who are pregnant. Even schools, Model C schools, even white young girls get pregnant, they fall pregnant, but because of their socio-economic status, the parents are able to do something, and some of them, they give away the children for adoption. And some of them, they have access to a provision or health care. And I think for me, the crisis is wider than the African or the grand system. It's rather an issue that we need to address.
Right, now coming back to the DA Minister, what do you make of contraceptives being a way forward of trying to end teenage pregnancies in the country?
You know, I don't believe that issuing condoms to children of such a young age is the only answer. It may be a solution, but that in itself comes with health risks. I think we need to do more in establishing where these problems are lying, why they have arisen, who is the perpetrators of these things. Are we dealing genuinely with rape? Are we dealing with consensual sex? I don't think we're doing enough to educate educate young girls and young boys on the consequences of these actions, particularly as far as the criminality is concerned. So I don't believe that issuing condoms in school is the answer entirely. In some areas, maybe, but as I say, it comes with health implications. I think we need to get far more, and as the previous speaker says, community involvement, and a lot more education around this, what it involves, and those kind of things. I don't think enough's being done, and I don't think we can rely on condoms or contraceptives to solve this problem.
All right. So thank you.